possibility of a multiple Chernobyl radiation release.
And then it's a suicide mission, isn't it, for thousands of helicopters or workers to come in and dump concrete or lead on top of it? What do they do then?
Yeah. It well, you have to wear protective suits and come in from the west and, dump your load and skedaddle back to the west and hope that you don't get and change crews so that nobody gets too big a dose. That's about it.
Yeah, we know what happened to the Chernobyl valiant men and women. Last question. We'll talk more tomorrow at 12:30, Dr. Bowman. But I have one last question, then I want to bring Gerald Celente in, who's been holding patiently with a quick question. We're going to come back with Gerald and your phone calls. Looking at this and what's happening in Japan, well, I'll just bring Gerald Celente in. Gerald, do you have any questions or comments for Dr. Bowman?
Yes, Dr. Bowman, Alex mentioned that you've flown a couple of hundred flights over Vietnam during the war, so I'm sure you dropped a bomb here or there. This containment vessel, of which the explosion took place around, and Alex explaining what that plume looked like of a couple of 3,000 feet. How could this vessel not be compromised is my question. I mean, what is it made out of? I mean, concrete and steel. And then this thing is exploding around it, which I would assume is even more powerful than a bomb dropping on top of it. So what's your assessment in the case of here they're showing that they're trying to put this thing out, or that these crews are working around the clock? Number one, what kind of damage do you think it really did? And number two, considering what they're showing us on TV, how could you possibly work around those conditions?
Well, hopefully you got your life insurance paid. But no, the difference between dropping a bomb on something and what happened there is that a bomb is heavy, traveling with at a pretty good speed, having been dropped from some height, and hits a localized point and explodes. And if you drop a bomb on a containment vessel, for example, then you have a chance, depending on how the bomb hits and all the rest, of penetrating it. The explosion that took place there, if it was outside the containment vessel and in the building, would probably have been a pretty uniform explosion, putting pressure on all sides of the containment vessel simultaneously. And therefore, there's a good chance that even a powerful explosion like that did not rupture the containment vessel. Everything depends on, the nature of the explosion, just how it happened. There are a lot of variables, but there is a huge difference between a point bomb traveling pretty fast and a uniform gaseous explosion.
Doctor, are there explosions associated with critical meltdowns at some point? Because we saw the explosion at Chernobyl, or was that a fire?
For the most part, fire. There doesn't have to be an explosion to have a meltdown.
Can there be an explosion?
Oh, yeah, but it depends on whether the explosion is within the containment vessel or outside.
Sure. Okay, if it was inside, because the Japanese aren't letting anybody get close to this, if it was inside, what would it generally look like? Because we're here looking at it over and over again exploding. What would it generally look like?
Well, if it was inside the containment vessel and didn't rupture it, you wouldn't see anything. If that explosion that you're looking at was indeed inside the containment vessel, and you're looking at this mushroom cloud, it means that it came out through the containment vessel, and therefore the containment vessel isn't functioning anymore.
Well, it looks like a black box, and I don't know what the containment vessel looks like, but it's big pieces of black metal and equipment. And when the other one blew up on Saturday, it looked like it was just the containment vessel. It was a bunch of concrete and white and gray stuff flying out. With this, there's a bunch of black equipment in the middle of it. I mean, we're just trying to guess here.
Yeah, I don't really know, because I don't know what they had in that building, inside the building and outside of the containment vessel. And so I would just be speculating.
Yeah, well, we obviously need to be praying for Japan right now. If folks want to find out more about Dr. Bob Bowman or want to interview him for their broadcast, Dr. Bowman, how do folks visit your Patriot site?
Thepatriots.us.
Thepatriots.us. Anything else, Doctor, that you'd like to add instead of us fumbling around asking you questions?
Well, just that I think we ought to hold out hope that somehow this does not turn out to be a total meltdown, and we don't have a Chernobyl-style release of radiation, and the world dodges a bullet. But we have to be aware of the fact that it could be the worst, and if it is, we all have to be aware and take precautions and keep an eye on the prevailing winds,
which are coming straight at the United States. Dr. Bob Bowman, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Okay.
Gerald, we're going to come back. You've been gracious enough to spend 30 minutes with us. I know you've got interviews lined up from here to Valhalla. But hearing that, Bob Bowman sounded the most calm and focused, I think almost resigned I've ever heard him. It was actually a chilling discussion that we just had with him. But if Chernobyl put out 400 times what Hiroshima did, that was my question I forgot to ask him. I'll ask it tomorrow. Why do reactors put out so much more than a regular bomb? That's because bombs are designed to expend their fuel. I mean, you heard him, a lot worse than Chernobyl if this has indeed happened. And we can maybe dodge one bullet. They're talking about a whole bunch of other reactors now that are starting to melt down all over Japan. And with the Japanese history of covering up in the last few days, man, I tell you, this is scary stuff, Gerald Celente.
It's even scarier than that. There's a whole rush going on around the world to build nuclear power plants. And we heard, President Obama as well during his campaign and upon getting elected of nuclear power plants. So there's, hundreds of these things are being built throughout Asia. 3 scheduled, I believe, for Switzerland, and on and on. So, and we're looking at all these natural disasters that are happening, plus human elements. To me, there has to be a better way, and this isn't it.
Listen, I've watched Al Gore's people, the top global warming people on C-SPAN call for neighborhood nuclear reactors, and the greenies are pushing this because they're all bought and paid for by General Electric and George Soros and others. I mean, this is insane. I mean, if we've got other systems that don't turn us green and kill us, why would we have any nuclear reactors? I mean, I'm sorry. Their history is they're not safe. And we've got the TSA, it turns out, last week wouldn't give Congress their radiation meters. Turns out, USA Today, 10 times the radiation they claimed bathing everybody in those airports. I mean, these people are nuts. Look at how they use DU in the wars, knowing it's going to kill the troops. I mean, the white shoe boys think they can deny physics? They're on such power trips?
They're greedy. It's all about money. That's the bottom line. And they'll do anything.
Money's no good if you're dead.
They don't care. They don't think like that. Does a junkie think about what they're doing? They're money junkies. They don't have any feelings about others. They have no loyalty or bounds or boundaries. It's only about money. You've heard it. They say it 100 times. Yeah, it's dangerous, but it'll create jobs. How's that one for you? So that's all it's about. These are psychotic people. Their only benefit is for themselves. And again, we wrote about this years ago, saying the other ones were going to happen and more to follow. And now the whole world is on a mad rush to continue to build nuclear power plants. You think this is the last one? Oh, here's what you're going to start hearing. We're going to learn from this one. We'll find out the mistakes so they don't happen again. How's that sound?
You're absolutely right, Gerald. We're going to be told over and over again, and we're going to be the fearmongers, and they'll cover up how bad the fallout is, and then a decade later it'll come out that everybody's getting cancer. Look at how cancer's up on average over 3,000%. Look at all the things that are happening. Look at the 12 to 15 times the birth defects in Iraq. That's the British Medical Journal. Our troops coming home 4 times the average for birth defects in their kids. And when your kid comes out, literally, I've got the mainstream news article right here with 2 heads, 4 eyes. Oh, it's cute. It's funny. Here's a London Independent. Toxic legacy of U.S. assault on Fallujah. Worse than Hiroshima. And it describes the 12 to 15 time increase, depending on the study, the 4-time increase in our troops, the kids with 2 heads. But so what? The white shoe boys made some money.
It's all about morals, and this country doesn't have any. From what they, by their deeds you shall know them. Look what's going on, as you mentioned, in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, just the other day, I love the language they use. You know, a U.S. missile killed 10 militants in Pakistan. Oh, yeah, these militant identifiable missiles, you know. They see people with M's on their backs, and they kill them. No, and until this country regains its morality, it's doomed to fail. Values change, but morals don't.
Meanwhile, they say Gaddafi strafed his own people. Turned out it's not true. I don't like Gaddafi. But then they moralize, oh, he was strafing people. But then 1,000 drones, 24/7. They say they can kill 200 people to kill 1 bad guy. That's okay, and that's moral. But then when Gaddafi reportedly strafed some people, trying to take over military bases in one case, the other stuff was fake. It's so immoral. We're so moral. We're so big. And then, of course, we learned 11 years ago the government secretly took all the death benefits from the troops. But that's patriotic. And now they're getting ready to take everybody's pension funds, devaluing the dollar. Phone calls for 30 minutes straight ahead with Gerald Celente. The websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. Cover-up of Fukushima chain reaction underway. Key article, PrisonPlanet.com.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
Hi, folks. This is Alex Jones, and I want to tell you about the Silver Lungs Generator. Now you can produce pure and endless colloidal silver and deliver the solution directly into the bloodstream by breathing the solution through the lungs. The respiratory system is the first line of defense for airborne pathogens and viruses. The Silver Lungs Generator infuses the respiratory system with your self-produced nano-silver solutions and also delivers the silver nanoparticles instantly into the bloodstream. With continued legislation threatening the sale of nano-silver products, you can now produce pure and endless colloidal silver with the Silver Lungs Generator. Very easy to follow step-by-step instructions are provided, making production fast and simple. Go to www.silverlungs.com today and learn more about the breakthrough technology of the Silver Lungs Generator. That's www.silverlungs.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
All right, Gerald Celente of trendsresearch.com is our guest. I really appreciate him joining us today. And we are going to take your calls. Steve, Sean, TJ, Aaron, Tyler, many others. The toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. We're going to continue with 30 minutes with Gerald Celente. Then I'm going to have nothing but open phones the last 30 minutes of this hour and the latest information for you. A full hour of 4th hour overdrive. Gerald, you ready to go to phone calls?
I am. Just one more thing I'd like to say as you were talking about what the United States is doing in other countries. Listen to the hypocrisy that you can't hear. Not a peep from the White House about the people being mowed down in the Ivory Coast. Not a word about the slaughter going on in the Sudan. Last week, some 500 buildings burned to the ground. Tens of thousands of refugees. I guess they don't have enough oil over there because no oil,